So with the Switch 2 launch literally a few weeks away, you definitely need to start thinking about some of the accessories that you want to get for your Switch 2 when you actually get it. And one of the most important accessories that I always recommend for pretty much any device, especially one with a screen this size, is a tempered glass screen protector. And I was lucky enough to have these sent out to me directly from amFilm just so we could test them out a little bit early before you actually get your Switch. And I'm not being paid for this review. Again, they just simply sent it out to me for some testing. And I don't know if you remember, but when the Switch 1 first came out, people were getting scratches on their screen just by putting the Switch inside the dock. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen this year with the Switch 2, but do you want to take any chances? I certainly don't, especially if you're going to be putting your Switch 2 in your book bag or something like that. You definitely want to protect this huge screen. Now, unfortunately, the only thing I wasn't able to get was a actual Switch 2 unit, but I do have this dummy unit here that we can use to test out the screen protector. The only thing we're not going to be able to see is the clarity of the screen, but because I've used amFilm in the past, I can tell you that it's going to be 100% clear and will not have any effect on the screen viewing whatsoever. So in this video, I'm going to go through the full installation. We're going to see how it fits, how it feels, and I'm also going to be doing a drop and a scratch test to see how durable the screen really is. So let's get started. So the first screen protector we're going to install is the anti-glare screen protector, and this is a 2-pack. And it also comes with an installation guide so you don't mess up the alignment, which is nice. We also do get a couple dust stickers and some installation packets. So the first thing we need to do is to totally clean off our screen here with the alcohol wipe. Just clean out the screen here. Then we'll dry it off. Then you can remove any dust you might see with the dust stickers. So these two white pieces here are not on the screen itself. It seems like it might be underneath. Then take your screen protector, making sure that the top portion here goes towards the top of your Switch. And we're going to peel off the step 1 on the back of the screen protector right here. I can get this up. So peel that off and don't touch the underside. And then just lay this whole thing on the top of your Switch. Just like that. Then run your finger down the middle of the screen. And it should start to adhere. Kind of help it along a little bit if you don't see it adhering. So you can see the light blue portion here is where it's not touching the screen. So you can kind of just run your finger across that to help it out a little bit. And once that's done, we're just going to lift up on the guide. And the screen protector is on your screen. And give it a little wipe down. It fits the screen perfectly. I don't see any bubbles. I don't see any lifting. We do have a little piece of dust underneath the screen right there, as you can see. But that looks really nice. Feels nice and smooth too. So like I mentioned before, this is the anti-glare screen, and I will put up a comparison between the regular screen and the anti-glare just so you guys can see what the difference is. But we're in my studio with some super bright light, and this is what you can pretty much expect with the anti-glare screen. It's also a super smooth. I always love the anti-glare screens. Now as far as fingerprints goes, it does seem to pick up some fingerprints on the screen here, but we can very easily wipe those away with minimal effort. And if we take a closer look at the fitment, you can see that there's just a very slight gap around the screen here. Not a whole lot. It seems to fit the screen of the Switch pretty good. No cutouts or anything needed for the Switch 2, unlike the Switch 1 did. So it makes it a lot easier to fit and less spaces for dust and everything to collect. So that does look really nice. Now because we can't see what the screen looks like, I'm just going to take the screen protector off and put it over my Switch 1 just so you guys can get an idea of how clear the screen protector actually is until we can get our hands on an actual Switch 2. So if you want to take the screen protector off, you just simply kind of get your finger underneath one of the edges here. And it kind of just comes off pretty easily. I'm trying not to touch the underside of the screen. So it comes off like that, and then we'll just put this over our switch 1. So there it is over the switch 1, and you can see that it doesn't have any effect on the colors or the clarity. It still looks really nice. And we can also kind of test out the touch. I'll turn on the screen here, hit continue, and you can see touch is working fine as well. Now, based on the things we can test, like the installation, the fit, and the feel of the screen protector, I'm really liking it so far. The only thing we can't really see is how the screen protector is going to look with the screen on, but again, I'm pretty confident that it's going to look 100% clear, just like all the other screen protectors made by amFilms do. But until we get the actual Switch 2 unit, we can't see that. But I can do the scratch and the drop test to see how durable the screen protector is. So let's move on to that. So for this test, we're going to be dropping a 2.4 ounce steel metal ball at a starting height of 2 feet. If the screen protector doesn't crack, we'll move it up foot by foot until it eventually does. So here we go, 2 feet. Moving on to 3 feet. 4 feet. 5 feet. 6 feet. 7 feet. 8 feet. 'Still nothing. All right, this is the highest I can go at 9 feet. 9 feet. So this screen protector lasted up until a 9-foot drop, which is pretty impressive. Now let's move on to the scratch test. So regular tempered glass typically starts to scratch around a Mohs hardness number 6. So we're going to start off our test with a number 5. Then I'll move on to a number 6. And then finally a number 7. So if we take a closer look, you can see that there are no scratches at the number 5. There's ever so slight at the number 6 and a little bit deeper at the number 7. So scratch resistance seems to be pretty standard for tempered glass. Now, because we can't fully test out the screen protector on a real Switch 2 unit, I'm not going to give it a score, but I'm going to recap all the things that we know about the screen protector right now. For one, installation was really easy. I love that they include the guide, makes lining up the screen protector perfectly on the Switch 2 very simple. It also does seem to keep down the glare slightly in very brightly lit rooms. It lasted up until a 9-foot drop, and scratch resistance is pretty standard for tempered glass. And then here we have the regular clear tempered glass. You install it the same way we do the anti-glare. Peel off the underside protector, put this down on the top of your screen, and then we'll just push down in the middle here so it adheres to your screen. Then lift up on the guide. And again, installation looks pretty good. We do have some bubbles on the screen here. What I would do is either use your finger or a credit card or something plastic to kind of push those bubbles out. Just like that. Everything else looks pretty good. We do, again, have a little piece of dust right there under the screen. But other than that, the screen looks really nice. Now, again, this is not anti-glare, so you can see how easily you can see the reflections from my studio lights. But it is crystal clear as far as the touch. Feels nice and smooth. I would assume just like the glass that's on the touch. or Switch 2. As far as fingerprints goes, it does seem to pick up some slight fingerprints on the screen. But again, just like the anti-glare, you can very easily just wipe those away with minimal effort. If we take a look at the gap, it looks like there's only a slight gap on the bottom of the screen here. Just a very slight one on the top, and on the sides, it seems to fit the Switch 2 dummy perfectly. Looks really nice. And then just so you guys can see the difference, here's a side-by-side comparison between the regular clear tempered glass and the anti-glare. I think I prefer the look and the feel of the anti-glare over the regular crystal clear, but what do you guys prefer? Let me know in the comments below. So based on the installation and the look and the feel of the screen protector, I really like it so far, but now let's test out the durability with a drop and a scratch test. All right, so the same test as before. This one is for the clear tempered glass, starting off at 2 feet. Moving on to 3 feet. 4 feet. 4 feet. So the anti-glare glass definitely did better in the drop test. This clear screen protector only lasted up until a 4-foot drop. So now let's move on to the scratch test. So again, we're going to start off with a number 5. Then we'll move on to a number 6. Now if we take a closer look, you can see that there are no scratches at the number 5. There are slight at a number 6 and a little deeper at a number 7. So scratch resistance again is pretty standard for tempered glass. So once again, because we can't fully test out the screen protector, I'm not going to give it a score, but based on what we know, the installation was really easy again. That guide makes it super simple to align the screen protector onto your Switch 2. From what I could tell, this screen is totally crystal clear. So if you want the best visuals, but you don't care about the anti-glare, I would definitely recommend going with the clear tempered glass. It lasted up until a 4-foot drop, and scratch resistance is pretty standard for tempered glass. So based on what we could test with these screen protectors, it does seem like the anti-glare did better in the drop test. They both seem to be pretty much the same for scratch resistance. So it really all depends on what you care about more. Do you want the anti-glare with the drop protection, or do you want the crystal clear? It's still going to protect your screen, but might not last as much if something happens to drop on it. Again, like I mentioned before, I think I prefer the way that the anti-glare screen protectors look. But again, I'm really curious to know what you guys think. Do you care about the clarity, or would you rather have the anti-glare properties on your screen protector? Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys want to pick either one of these up yourself, I will be putting product links in the video description. And if you guys use those links, you will be supporting my channel directly, so thank you. And if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by hitting the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.